We're two battles into the Red Bull promotion war as Yuki Tsunoda brought the score to 1-1 with a sublime drive at the Belgian Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo's surprise call-up to Alpha Tauri before the Hungarian race instilled fear into the fans of Sergio Perez and Yuki Tsunoda. Despite what Red Bull might say, Daniel Ricciardo has been planted to prove whether Yuki is Red Bull worthy or not, and to put pressure on Sergio Perez to see if he can climb out of his slump or be replaced come the end of the season. Spa played host to a contrasting battle of ability, and today we're going to fill you in on it all, so don't go anywhere. We may have all expected Nyck de Vries to be replaced considering his poor start to the season, but I don't think anyone would have bet on him leaving when he did. But as Helmut Marko said, waiting 2 races for the summer break wouldn't have changed anything. Daniel Ricciardo was ready to go, and Red Bull had seen all they needed to of de Vries. Come the Hungarian Grand Prix, he proved just how ready he was. Ricciardo said he felt 95% comfortable after his first day of running on the Friday of his first weekend back, after being unceremoniously sacked by McLaren. The Australian went on to have an impressive qualifying as he reached Q2 in what is considered the slowest car on the grid, and took 13th, 4 places ahead of teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who was eliminated in Q1. Ricciardo's first race since last November's Abu Dhabi Grand Prix got off to a dramatic start when he was punted by Zhou Guanyu's Alfa Romeo at the first corner, leading to further contact with Alpine's Esteban Ocon. Somehow, Ricciardo emerged unscathed from the drama but found himself towards the back of the grid. An early second stop proved key for his race as he took advantage of free air to leapfrog several of his rivals. A P13 finish at the checkered flag may have appeared unremarkable on paper, but given the circumstances, it represented a solid job from Ricciardo in largely unfamiliar machinery. Apparently, he had just one simulator session in the AT04 prior to Hungary. Before the race, Yuki proved to the media that he wasn't afraid of the challenge. It'll be clear soon, but either driver will be slower and the slower guy won't make it to Red Bull, Tsunoda said in Budapest. That's easy, the faster guy has more chance to go to Red Bull. It's how it works in Formula 1, that's it. Yuki is no idiot. He knows exactly what is on the line in the second half of the season. We weren't expecting him to be quite so blunt and feisty in the media about it, but then again, this is the same man that spent the first 2 years of his career filling team radio highlight reels with screams of passion and explosions of anger. It's a challenge always, the Japanese driver said. In the end, it doesn't make much difference, Daniel or Nick, whatever. Anyway, I have to do the same thing I was doing to Nick. You need to beat your teammate. That's the most important thing. Daniel is not an easy driver to beat, but at the same time, I'll do what I did in the last couple of races, and it's clear the faster guy will stay or go up, that's it. After finishing behind his teammate in Hungary, Yuki will have been worried that Red Bull might have stitched him up. His stock has been on the rise on the F1 grid as he has finally started finding his feet. AlphaTauri's form might have fallen off since Tsunoda has been there, but that isn't his fault, and despite the decline, he has been improving. His results in Belgium will have steadied his nerves though. He did the exact thing Ricciardo had done to him the week before. He provided an outstanding performance that caught the eye of fans and the media, while his teammate went missing completely. What a difference a week makes, eh? Yuki took a stinging blow last week, but his counterpunch at Spa was thunderous. Ricciardo was set to easily make it into Quali 2 on Friday at the Belgian Grand Prix, but a small error on his final run in the first session at Raidillon saw the Aussie penalised for a track limits violation and his time wiped from the board. Tsunoda, by way of contrast, excelled in the fastest one-lap session and missed final qualifying by just over 0.3 seconds behind Verstappen, which was good enough to start the Grand Prix in 11th place. The Japanese driver at one point climbed as high as 6th, but as the different tyre strategies panned out, Yuki made the checkered flag in 10th, scoring his 3rd point of the season. Ricciardo had a miserable day, finishing in P16, with just 2 drivers classified as finishing behind him. The Honey Badger now has 4 weeks to stew over his below-par performance in Spa. Clearly, the veteran Red Bull driver will be pondering the capabilities of the car he's been tasked to drive until the end of the season. All had gone well the previous week in Hungary, and the writing appeared to be on the wall for the Honda-sponsored Tsunoda, as Ted Kravitz explained in his feature as the fans drifted away from the Budapest circuit. Poor Yuki, he's battled gamely with this car all year, and now is being shown which way to go by Daniel Ricciardo, Kravitz said to the camera. 17 seconds behind Daniel Ricciardo. I know he didn't get the rub of the green with his first stop, but that's a bit of an ouchie for poor Yuki. So Ricciardo is clearly the team leader. He's clearly the team leader now. I'm sorry Yuki, but he is. You can understand that. He's a 7 or 8-time Grand Prix winner. If I've learned anything from Yuki Tsunoda's radio messages, it's not to provoke him. Clearly, his own performance and the media's reaction to the result in Hungary didn't sit well with Yuki. Daniel Ricciardo was given a reality check after an uneventful race at Spa, where the penny dropped that his Alpha Tauri really is one of the worst cars on the grid. It wasn't just that he was an almost forgotten afterthought for most of the weekend. The most concerning thing for Ricciardo to walk away with is that AlphaTauri teammate Yuki Tsunoda snatched a championship point for the 3rd time this year, pushing his car to finish P10, a place it still has absolutely no right to be. Ricciardo finished more than 23 seconds behind his teammate, just one day after Ted Kravitz doubled down on his claim that the former McLaren driver is now AlphaTauri's team leader. Ricciardo admitted after the race that it had been a tough day at the office, and said he'll be using the 4-week summer break before the Dutch Grand Prix on August 27th to get into the gym and improve his race fitness. Ricciardo and Tsunoda were saying different things about their cars at the end of the race, with Tsunoda saying his AlphaTauri was flying, while Ricciardo was far from convinced about the junior Red Bull's performance. Everyone knows the AT04 is bad. Blaming the car isn't going to save Ricciardo's face after being soundly beaten by his teammate, but he tried it anyway. Honestly, it was tough in traffic. Maybe a race with more clear air could have been better, but in general, I'm not convinced we had great pace today, reflected Ricciardo. It felt like we never got the peak out of the tyres, and we couldn't generate enough grip in the second sector. When we were in clear air later in the race, I felt we were more competitive, but in traffic, it was definitely hard. The reality is, these were my first dry laps in this car on this track, and I don't know this car that well yet, so I still felt there was a little missing. But we'll figure it out. We can accept he didn't know the car that well. We can understand that he might not be able to dial in the setup of this car yet, but he's going to have to come back after the summer break swinging, because his teammate gave one of his best performances of the season in response to being beaten a week prior. Ted Kravitz concluded in his post-race analysis, "What happened to Daniel Ricciardo today?" Well, I'll do that quickly because he's not the story today. Yuki Tsunoda is the story at AlphaTauri today. P10, 1 point, a brilliant result for Yuki Tsunoda. Finished just behind Lance Stroll, so he could have been P9. Yuki made it happen for him. I'm so happy for him because he made it happen after a few dodgy races. In the post-race driver ratings, Yuki was given 9s and 10s across the board. The best I could find for Ricciardo was a 5 out of 10. The war between the two is going to become the focal point of the battle at the back of the grid for the remainder of the season. To make things worse for Ricciardo, Sergio Perez's second place was his 33rd career podium, taking the Mexican one clear of the Australian's 32 podiums. 2 podium finishes since Daniel's return to the grid shows that Perez is paying attention to what is happening. Instead of caving under the pressure of Ricciardo threatening his place, Checo is rising to the challenge. Who do you think will take the next point in Tsunoda and Ricciardo's war for a place at Red Bull? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.